What if the Jesus you've been seeking was never the Jesus who could truly find you? What if, beneath the layers of doctrine and tradition, a more profound revelation waits? One that speaks not to the masses, but specifically to you at your precise level of consciousness. We've been taught that Christ's message was universal, meant for all who would listen. But what if this was the greatest misunderstanding of all? The ancient Gnostic texts whisper a different truth, that Jesus calibrated his teachings to match the spiritual capacity of his listeners. Not everyone received the same message. Not everyone was meant to. The parables themselves were veils, revealing to some while concealing from others. To those who have ears to hear, he said, suggesting that spiritual hearing itself exists at different frequencies of awareness. Perhaps the most unsettling revelation is this: the Jesus you've connected with until now may only be the initiatory version designed for your previous level of consciousness. There are depths to his teaching that remain sealed until you're ready to receive them. The Christ who speaks to the beginner cannot be the same Christ who addresses the adept. The words may be identical, but the transmission changes everything. Today, we'll explore the three distinct levels of Jesus' revelation and why only one of them leads beyond the cosmic prison of the monad. This journey will challenge everything you thought you understood about his message. It may disturb your spiritual comfort. It should. For comfort has never been the pathway to gnosis. The question is not whether you're ready to hear this teaching, but whether you're prepared to recognize which level of initiation you currently embody, and whether you're willing to ascend beyond it. Hidden within the Nag Hammadi library, those remarkable texts discovered in 1945 that escaped the ecclesiastical purges, we find a startling pattern emerging. The Jesus who speaks in these forbidden Gospels is not the unified figure presented by Orthodox Christianity. He appears instead as a graduated revelation, a teacher who consciously modulates his message to match the spiritual development of his listeners. The Gospel of Philip states this explicitly. The Lord did everything in a mystery. He revealed himself to them all. He revealed himself to the great as great. He revealed himself to the small as small. This is not metaphor, but methodology, a precise spiritual technology designed to meet souls exactly where they stand in their evolution. In the Gospel of Thomas, we find Jesus spitting in riddles that confound his closest disciples. When they beg for clarity, he tells some of them secrets he withholds from others. The Pistis Sophia goes further, describing post-resurrection teachings delivered over 11 years. Advanced transmissions meant only for those who had transcended ordinary perception. What emerges is a radical understanding. There was never one Jesus delivering one message. There were at least three distinct revelations, each calibrated to a specific level of spiritual readiness. And these three initiatory paths continue today, though few recognize which one they're actually walking. The most troubling insight from these texts is that most seekers remain forever trapped in the first or second level, believing they've received the complete teaching when they've barely crossed the threshold. The Jesus you think you know may be precisely the Jesus designed to keep you comfortable within your current limitations, until you're ready to meet the one who shatters them all. If you sense a resonance with this forgotten wisdom, if something within you recognizes a truth that transcends conventional understanding, you're already awakening to possibilities beyond ordinary spiritual perception. This space was created for those rare souls who intuitively understand that the deepest mysteries were never meant for casual consumption. Our journey together explores territories most spiritual teachers carefully avoid. We're tracking footprints that lead beyond the boundaries of comfortable revelation. This is not for everyone, nor should it be. The ancient mystery schools understood that premature exposure to certain truths could damage unprepared minds. Consider this moment a crossing point, an invitation to remember what your soul already knows. If you haven't yet joined our community of seekers, consider subscribing to this channel. Not as a casual viewer, but as a participant in a resurrection of forgotten wisdom. Each video builds upon the previous, constructing a coherent path toward Gnosis. This is not about gathering followers, but recognizing fellow travelers. The algorithm itself becomes our ally in this work, connecting these transmissions to those already searching for what lies beyond conventional spiritual teaching. Your conscious engagement helps ensure these messages reach those prepared to receive them. To understand the three levels of Jesus' teaching, we must first revisit the cosmology within which he operated. The Gnostic texts reveal a universe vastly different from the simplified heaven and earth model of conventional Christianity. They describe a complex spiritual ecology with multiple layers of reality, powers, and intelligences. At the highest level exists what they called the pleroma, the fullness, the totality of divine reality beyond form or conception. This is not the God of popular religion, but something far more profound, the unlimited ground of all being, beyond personality or definition. From this emanated various eons, aspects or expressions of divine consciousness that together formed the spiritual universe. But something catastrophic occurred in this perfect arrangement. The aeon called Sophia, representing divine wisdom, acted independently in an attempt to create without her spiritual counterpart. This imbalanced creation resulted in a malformed entity, the Demiurge, who, ignorant of his origins, believed himself to be the supreme God. This Demiurge, whom Jesus often referred to as the ruler of this world, proceeded to create the material cosmos as a flawed reflection of the perfect pleroma. He surrounded himself with Archons, cosmic administrators who help maintain the illusion that his kingdom is all that exists. Together, they created humanity, but unknowingly trapped within their creation were sparks of true divine essence, fragments of Sophia herself. The human condition, therefore, is one of cosmic amnesia, divine consciousness imprisoned in matter, forgetful of its true nature and origin. We are, in essence, fragments of divinity suffering from a case of mistaken identity, believing ourselves to be merely physical creatures in a material world ruled by an imposter God. This is the stage upon which Jesus appeared, not as a sacrifice to appease an angry deity, but as an emissary from beyond the Demiurge's realm, bringing the liberating gnosis, knowledge, that could awaken humanity to their true nature and origin. His mission was to remind us of what we had forgotten, that we are not of this world, that our true home lies beyond the cosmic prison. But here's where the complexity emerges. Not everyone could receive this radical message in its fullness. Different souls stood at different stages of awakening, requiring different approaches. The Jesus of history understood this perfectly, which is why he calibrated his revelation to 3 distinct levels of readiness. When we examine these ancient texts through the lens of psychological understanding, a profound pattern emerges. The mythological figures, the Demiurge, Archons, Sophia, and Aeons, reveal themselves not just as cosmic entities, but as aspects of our own consciousness. The outer cosmology becomes inner psychology. The Demiurge, that false god who believes himself supreme, manifests within us as the ego, that constructed identity that claims to be our true self while remaining ignorant of our deeper nature. Like the cosmic Demiurge, our ego creates a version of reality that centers itself, declaring, "I am all there is." It builds elaborate defenses to maintain this illusion, rejecting any evidence of realities beyond its comprehension. The Archons appear as thought patterns and conditioning, those automatic mental processes that enforce the boundaries of what we consider possible or permissible. They patrol the borders of our awareness, turning us away from forbidden knowledge. When you feel that inexplicable resistance to certain spiritual insights, that is the archonic function at work within your own mind. Sophia, divine wisdom fallen into matter, represents our authentic nature, trapped in identification with form and sensation. She is the divine spark within, yearning for reunion with her source, intuiting that there must be more than this limited existence, but unable to fully remember what that more might be. This psychological reinterpretation reveals why Jesus needed 3 distinct levels of teaching. He wasn't just addressing different intellectual capacities, but different stages of psychological readiness to recognize and challenge these inner structures. The first level of initiation, what I call the servant Christ, speaks to those still fully identified with the demiurgic construction. These souls require a teaching that works within the system, offering comfort and ethical guidance without yet challenging the fundamental illusion. The second level, the companion Christ, begins to reveal the prison walls to those who sense something amiss in conventional reality. These seekers receive teachings that point beyond the system while still using its language. But it is only at the third level, the indwelling Christ, that the full revelation becomes possible. Here, the teaching no longer accommodates the illusion at all, but speaks directly from and to the divine spark itself. This is the Christ who declared, "The kingdom is within you," not as poetic metaphor, but as precise ontological fact. The question is not which of these teachings is correct, but which matches your current capacity to receive. The Jesus you encounter is always the one your level of consciousness can currently recognize. If something within you resonates with this deeper understanding, if you sense these words illuminating territories you've intuited but never fully explored, I invite you to affirm this recognition. The simple act of acknowledging truth when you encounter it strengthens the field of awakening consciousness. Consider leaving a like on this video, not as social validation, but as a marker for others seeking this same wisdom. Each engagement helps these transmissions reach those who are searching. In the language of the ancient texts, it becomes a sign of recognition between awakening souls. This isn't about popularity or metrics. It's about creating pathways through the digital wilderness that lead to genuine gnosis. Your conscious engagement becomes part of that pathway, a light that helps others find their way to remembrance. When you understand that the 3 levels of Jesus' teaching correspond to psychological stages of awakening, you begin to recognize them in your own spiritual journey. Each of us has encountered, or embodied, all 3 at different points in our development. The first level, the servant Christ, speaks to those still fully identified with conventional reality. This Jesus offers comfort, moral guidance, and the promise of salvation through faith and good works. He doesn't challenge the fundamental structure of reality, but provides a way to live virtuously within it. His teaching emphasizes service, humility, and devotion. Have you noticed how this version of Jesus rarely threatens the powers that be? He can be safely displayed at government buildings and invoked in political speeches because he doesn't fundamentally challenge the system. He offers heaven after death rather than liberation in life. He comforts rather than awakens. Many souls genuinely need this level of teaching. When you're fully identified with the material world and its struggles, you require a spirituality that meets you there, offering compassion, community, and ethical guidance. There's nothing wrong with this Jesus. He serves a necessary purpose for souls at a particular stage of development. The second level, the companion Christ, begins to hint at deeper realities. This Jesus speaks in parables and paradoxes that don't quite fit conventional understanding. He challenges religious authorities and suggests that the kingdom is at hand, nearly within reach. He forms deeper relationships with those ready for more, taking them aside to explain what others cannot yet hear. Have you experienced moments when familiar spiritual teachings suddenly revealed deeper layers of meaning? When the same words you'd heard for years suddenly spoke to you differently? This is the companion Christ emerging in your awareness, beginning to walk beside you rather than merely being worshipped from afar. This Jesus still uses the language and symbols of conventional spirituality, but infuses them with hints of something beyond. He stands with one foot in ordinary reality and one in the mystery. He begins to reveal the prison walls while still honoring the journey of those who cannot yet see them. But it is only with the third level, the indwelling Christ, that full liberation becomes possible. This is the Jesus who declared, "I and the Father are one," and told his disciples, "The works that I do shall you do also, and greater works than these shall you do." This is not a teacher of better behavior or even deeper insight, but the revealer of your true nature. Have you ever experienced moments of profound recognition, when you realized that what you were seeking was actually what was seeking itself through you? When the boundary between worshiper and worshipped dissolved completely? These are glimpses of the third-level teaching breaking through. The revelation that unifies these three levels is both simple and revolutionary. They were never meant to be static destinations, but stages in an evolving relationship with truth. The tragedy is not that most remain at the first level, but that they believe it to be the only level, mistaking the initiatory teaching for the complete revelation. The integration of these three revelations creates a map of spiritual evolution that transcends any single religious tradition. We see the same pattern in Buddhism, Hinduism, Sufism, and Kabbalah, the teaching always calibrated to the consciousness that receives it. What makes the Gnostic understanding unique is its explicit recognition of this graduated revelation. There is no pretense that everyone receives the same teaching. Jesus himself acknowledged this when he said, "I have many things to tell you, but you cannot bear them now." This explains the seemingly contradictory versions of Jesus we encounter in different texts. He wasn't inconsistent. He was precisely calibrated. The Jesus who speaks of hell and judgment is addressing one level of consciousness. The Jesus who speaks of unity with the divine addresses another. Both are authentic expressions of the same teaching function, adapted to different capacities of reception. The monad, that unified field of consciousness that contains all possibilities, can only be penetrated by those who have integrated all three levels of revelation. The servant Christ teaches us compassion and ethics. The companion Christ awakens our discernment and intuition, but only the indwelling Christ reveals our true nature beyond all conceptual limitations. This is why the ancient texts insist that salvation comes not through belief, but through gnosis, direct experiential knowledge of your divine nature. Not the acceptance of someone else's revelation, but the awakening of your own. The most profound truth may be this: Jesus never intended to establish a religion about himself, but to initiate a process of awakening within each soul he encountered. The three levels of his teaching weren't different messages, but different depths of the same message, revealed as the listener became capable of receiving more. What if the Christ you seek has always been seeking you, not from outside, but from within your own being? What if the voice you've been straining to hear has been speaking all along, waiting only for you to recognize its source? The spiritual journey is not about finding what was never lost, but remembering what was momentarily forgotten. The divine spark within you has never been extinguished. It has only been covered by layers of identification with lesser realities. The three initiatory levels of Jesus' teaching aren't separate paths, but progressive unveilings of a single truth, that what you seek is what you are. The servant Christ teaches you to act with love. The companion Christ teaches you to perceive with wisdom. The indwelling Christ reveals that you are, and have always been, an expression of the divine reality itself. Which of these revelations speaks to you now? Which Jesus are you currently capable of recognizing? There is no judgment in this question, only an invitation to honest self-assessment. For the teaching that will liberate you is precisely the one that matches your present capacity to receive. I invite you to sit with this question in the silence of your own being. Let it reveal not an intellectual answer, but a lived recognition. Then, if you feel moved to share your insight, leave a single word in the comments that captures the essence of what you've realized. Perhaps servant, companion, or indwelling, or any other word that expresses your current relationship with this teaching. This simple act of naming your recognition becomes itself a step in the evolutionary process, an acknowledgement of where you stand and an opening to what comes next. For in the ancient tradition, the journey always begins with honest self-knowledge, knowing not just what you believe, but how you believe it.